There exists a peculiar melancholy in driving past the skeletal remains of restaurants that once buzzed with activity and promise. The faded signage, darkened windows, and empty parking lots tell stories of ambitious comeback attempts that never quite materialized, of corporate strategies that looked brilliant on paper but crumbled under the weight of changing consumer preferences and operational realities. These aren't tales of restaurants that simply closed their doors quietly in the night. These are chronicles of establishments that fought desperately to reclaim their former glory, launching rebranding campaigns, introducing revolutionary menu concepts, and making bold promises about their bright futures. Yet despite every marketing dollar spent and every consultant hired, they discovered that resurrection in the restaurant industry requires more than hope and determination. Today, we're exploring 9 forgotten restaurant chains that attempted comebacks but ultimately learned that some declines are simply irreversible no matter how hard you try to fight against the inevitable. Number 9. Ruby Tuesday. The casual dining chain that once commanded prime real estate in shopping centers and strip malls across America made what appeared to be a valiant effort to reinvent itself for modern diners. Corporate executives recognized that their traditional approach was failing to attract contemporary customers, so they embarked on an ambitious transformation that promised to breathe new life into a struggling brand. The rebranding effort was comprehensive, touching everything from interior design concepts to menu philosophy, yet the results revealed the harsh reality that cosmetic changes cannot address fundamental business problems. The famous salad bar that had differentiated Ruby Tuesday for decades was eliminated at most locations, replaced with what management called a more streamlined dining experience. This decision alienated longtime customers who had specifically chosen Ruby Tuesday for its self-service salad offerings, while failing to attract new demographics who remained unaware that any changes had occurred at all. Menu simplification efforts resulted in offerings that competed directly with establishments that executed similar concepts more effectively and at better price points. New promotional campaigns emphasized fresh ingredients and made-to-order preparations, but kitchen execution remained inconsistent across locations. The gap between marketing promises and actual dining experiences became a source of frustration for customers who arrived expecting elevated food quality but encountered the same mediocre preparations that had driven them away in the first place. Despite corporate investment in facility updates and staff retraining programs, most locations continued to feel dated and unwelcoming. The rebranding coincided with accelerating closures as franchisees struggled with declining traffic and unsustainable operating costs. Empty dining rooms during traditionally busy periods highlighted the fundamental disconnect between corporate strategy and market reality. Even locations that received complete renovations failed to generate sustainable increases in customer traffic, suggesting that the problems extended far beyond physical appearance or menu variety. Number 8. Boston Market. The rotisserie chicken chain that had once revolutionized fast casual dining attempted what seemed like a promising comeback under new ownership. Corporate communications emphasized a commitment to returning to the quality standards and operational excellence that had originally made Boston Market a household name. Press releases spoke confidently about a new era of growth and customer satisfaction, while franchise development efforts targeted markets where the brand had previously succeeded. The reality proved far more complicated than the optimistic projections suggested. Legal troubles emerged almost immediately as unpaid wages became a persistent problem across multiple markets. Employees reported working without compensation for weeks at a time, while vendors filed lawsuits demanding payment for supplies and services. The financial instability created operational chaos that affected every aspect of the customer experience, from food availability to basic service standards. Kitchen equipment failures became routine as deferred maintenance caught up with locations struggling to manage cash flow problems. Rotisserie ovens broke down frequently, forcing restaurants to serve reheated chicken that bore little resemblance to the fresh, flavorful products that had built the brand's reputation. Side dishes sat under heat lamps for excessive periods, while preparation standards declined as experienced staff departed due to payroll irregularities. Mass closures accelerated as franchise operators discovered that the promised support systems were inadequate to address the fundamental business challenges they faced. Locations that had operated successfully for years suddenly shuttered without advance notice to customers or employees. The closures often happened overnight, with morning customers arriving to find locked doors and removal notices posted on windows. The promised turnaround became a case study in how financial problems can overwhelm even the most well-intentioned revival efforts. Despite genuine attempts to restore food quality and service standards, the underlying business model remained unsustainable in a competitive market that had evolved significantly since Boston Market's original success. Number 7. Friendly's. The beloved New England staple tried to revive its legacy through nostalgia, but quickly discovered that memories don't pay the bills. The family dining model that thrived for decades no longer fits modern habits. Parents who once visited Friendly's as children found their own kids uninterested in slow, sit-down meals when faster, trendier options dominate the market. Attempts to modernize the menu while preserving classics created confusion rather than excitement. The signature ice cream offerings, once a hallmark of childhood, suffered from inconsistent quality as aging equipment and chronic staffing shortages took their toll. Fribbles and sundaes that were once worth the drive now compete with boutique ice cream shops and national dessert chains offering fresher, more creative alternatives. Rising real estate costs and shrinking traffic have left many franchisees struggling. Prime suburban locations that once guaranteed steady business now drain profits, especially as fast casual competitors capture families seeking quicker, cheaper meals. Breakfast and lunch menus have fallen behind specialized chains that deliver higher quality and better value, leaving Friendly's trapped in the middle. Too slow for fast casual crowds, too generic for destination diners. Corporate leadership has offered little practical help. Marketing campaigns lean heavily on nostalgia, but emotional appeal can't overcome operational shortcomings. Franchisees report inconsistent guidance, inadequate support, and a growing disconnect between headquarters and day-to-day realities. In the end, Friendly's didn't fail for lack of heart. It failed because the market moved on. Families now prioritize convenience, value, and quality over sentimentality. Despite earnest attempts to preserve the warmth that defined its brand, Friendly's remains a relic of a dining era that no longer exists, a symbol of how even the most beloved memories can't sustain a restaurant built for a world that's long gone. Number 6. Hooters. The restaurant chain that had built its identity around a specific brand of entertainment attempted to navigate dramatically shifting cultural attitudes by modernizing its image and broadening its appeal. Corporate strategists recognized that their traditional approach was increasingly at odds with contemporary social values, leading to comprehensive efforts to rebrand the concept for a more diverse customer base. The transformation included updated uniforms, revised marketing campaigns, and menu expansions designed to position Hooters as a legitimate sports bar rather than a novelty dining destination. The rebranding efforts faced immediate challenges as the fundamental concept remained unchanged despite cosmetic modifications. Attempts to attract female customers and families proved largely unsuccessful, as the underlying brand identity continued to alienate demographics that management desperately needed to reach. Marketing campaigns that emphasized food quality and sports viewing experiences struggled to overcome decades of established brand perception among potential customers who had never considered Hooters a serious dining option. Menu development focused on expanding beyond the signature wing offerings that had originally defined the concept. New items included burgers, seafood preparations, and salad options designed to compete with mainstream casual dining establishments. However, kitchen execution remained inconsistent across locations, while pricing strategies failed to provide compelling value propositions compared to competitors who specialized in similar menu categories. The sports bar positioning encountered fierce competition from dedicated establishments that offered superior viewing experiences, better beer selections, and more sophisticated atmospheres for watching games. Television arrangements and audio systems at many Hooters locations felt outdated compared to modern sports bars that had invested heavily in creating immersive viewing environments for serious fans. Cultural shifts accelerated faster than corporate adaptation efforts could accommodate, leaving the brand feeling increasingly disconnected from mainstream dining preferences. Younger demographics showed little interest in the concept, regardless of modernization attempts, while traditional customers began questioning whether the changes had eliminated the unique characteristics that had originally attracted them. Location performance varied dramatically based on geographic and demographic factors, with urban markets showing particularly poor reception to the concept. Franchisees in progressive markets found themselves operating businesses that felt fundamentally incompatible with their local customer base, leading to accelerating closures in key metropolitan areas. Despite extensive corporate investment in image rehabilitation and operational improvements, the comeback effort revealed that some brand identities are simply incompatible with evolving social expectations and cannot be successfully repositioned, regardless of the resources devoted to transformation attempts. Number 5. TGI Fridays. The casual dining pioneer that had once defined the concept of themed restaurant entertainment launched an ambitious comeback campaign featuring new logos, updated decor schemes, and experimental menu concepts designed to recapture the energy and relevance that had made it a cultural phenomenon. Corporate executives spoke confidently about returning to the brand's roots while simultaneously modernizing the experience for contemporary diners who had different expectations than previous generations of customers. The visual rebranding included simplified logos and interior design elements intended to feel fresh and current rather than dated and nostalgic. Significant investment went into updating lighting systems, furniture arrangements, and decorative themes across hundreds of locations. However, the cosmetic changes could not address the fundamental operational problems that had been driving customers away for years. Menu experimentation introduced fusion concepts, health-conscious options, and trendy ingredients that management believed would attract younger demographics. Limited-time offerings cycled frequently as corporate teams tested various approaches to generating excitement and social media attention. The constant menu changes created confusion among customers and operational challenges for kitchen staff who struggled to maintain quality standards across an increasingly complex array of preparation requirements. Marketing campaigns emphasized the party atmosphere and social gathering aspects that had originally made TGI Fridays successful, but execution in individual locations failed to deliver the promised experiences. Understaffed restaurants could not maintain the energy levels necessary for creating memorable celebrations, while service standards remained inconsistent despite corporate training initiatives. The bar program received particular attention as executives recognized its importance to profitability and atmosphere creation. New cocktail recipes, expanded beer selections, and promotional pricing were introduced to drive beverage sales and encourage longer visits. However, bartender training proved inadequate for executing complex drink preparations consistently, while supply chain issues affected ingredient availability for specialty cocktails. Store closures continued throughout the comeback attempt as franchisees struggled with declining sales and increasing operational costs. Prime locations in shopping centers and standalone buildings sat empty as lease obligations became unsustainable for operators facing persistent traffic declines. The closures created negative publicity that undermined marketing efforts to position the brand as thriving and relevant. Despite genuine corporate commitment to revitalization, the comeback revealed that operational excellence and consistent customer experiences cannot be achieved through branding changes alone, particularly when fundamental business model challenges remain unaddressed. Number 4. California Pizza Kitchen. The innovative pizza concept that had revolutionized casual dining with creative toppings and upscale presentations emerged from bankruptcy proceedings with optimistic projections about renewed growth and profitability. New ownership groups expressed confidence in the brand's potential, citing strong customer loyalty and distinctive menu offerings as foundations for successful revival efforts. Press conferences and investor presentations painted pictures of streamlined operations and focused execution that would restore the chain to its former prominence. Post-bankruptcy optimism proved short-lived as traffic patterns failed to improve, despite corporate efforts to address operational deficiencies. The mall-based locations that had once provided steady customer flow faced declining foot traffic as shopping patterns shifted toward online retail and lifestyle centers. Traditional enclosed malls experienced accelerating tenant departures, leaving California Pizza Kitchen restaurants isolated in increasingly empty commercial spaces. Menu pricing remained problematic as ingredient costs for specialty toppings and premium ingredients created expense structures that were difficult to reconcile with declining customer traffic. The gourmet pizza positioning that had originally differentiated the brand now competed with numerous fast casual concepts offering similar quality at lower price points, and with more convenient service models. Kitchen operations struggled with the complexity required for made-to-order pizza preparations, while maintaining reasonable service times during peak periods. The extensive menu of specialty pizzas, salads, and pasta dishes created preparation bottlenecks that resulted in extended wait times and inconsistent food temperatures. Staff training programs proved insufficient for maintaining the culinary standards that had originally established the brand's reputation. Real estate obligations became increasingly burdensome as lease agreements negotiated during more prosperous periods required rental payments that were unsustainable given current revenue levels. Landlords showed limited willingness to renegotiate terms, particularly in struggling mall locations where anchor tenants were also experiencing financial difficulties. The casual upscale positioning that had worked effectively during the brand's peak years felt disconnected from contemporary dining preferences that favored either quick service convenience or truly premium experiences. California Pizza Kitchen occupied an uncomfortable middle ground that satisfied neither efficiency-focused customers nor those seeking special occasion dining experiences. Despite management's best intentions and investor support, the comeback attempt demonstrated that bankruptcy emergence alone cannot overcome fundamental market shifts and changing consumer behaviors that had undermined the original business model. Number 3. Fuddruckers. The burger chain that had once proudly proclaimed itself home to the world's greatest hamburgers found itself cycling through multiple ownership changes, each bringing promises of revitalization that would restore the brand to its position as a premium burger destination. The concept that had originally differentiated itself through fresh ground beef, made-to-order preparations, and theatrical kitchen displays attempted to compete in a burger market that had evolved dramatically since its heyday. Corporate messaging emphasized the authentic burger experience and superior ingredient quality that had originally attracted customers seeking alternatives to traditional fast food. Marketing campaigns highlighted the fresh beef grinding that happened on site, the bakery fresh buns, and the extensive toppings bar that allowed customers to customize their meals. However, execution across locations remained inconsistent as franchisees struggled with the labor-intensive preparation methods that made the concept distinctive. The self-service toppings bar that had once been a novelty became a liability in an era of heightened health consciousness and cleanliness concerns. Customers increasingly preferred having their orders prepared completely by staff, rather than assembling their own meals from shared serving stations. The interactive element that had originally made Fuddruckers feel special now seemed outdated compared to fast casual concepts that offered customization without requiring customer participation in food handling. Competition from specialized burger chains intensified as numerous concepts entered the market with focused menus and streamlined operations. Five Guys, Shake Shack, and other competitors offered similar quality claims with more efficient service models and stronger brand identities. The premium positioning that had once justified higher prices became difficult to maintain when customers could find comparable or superior burgers at establishments with more convenient locations and faster service. Real estate challenges plagued the chain as many locations occupied large spaces designed for the original concept's extensive seating areas and kitchen displays. The overhead costs associated with these facilities became unsustainable as customer traffic declined, and average transaction values failed to support the expense structures. Landlords proved reluctant to renegotiate lease terms that had been established during more prosperous operating periods. Menu expansion attempts diluted the focused burger identity without successfully attracting new customer segments. Chicken sandwiches, salads, and other additions competed for kitchen attention and complicated operations without generating meaningful revenue increases. The additions felt like desperate attempts to boost sales rather than natural extensions of the core concept. Staffing the labor-intensive operations became increasingly difficult as restaurant workers gravitated toward employers offering more predictable schedules and less demanding preparation requirements. The fresh beef grinding and made-to-order cooking that defined the brand required experienced staff who commanded higher wages than many locations could afford to pay. Despite repeated ownership changes and capital injections, the fundamental business model remained incompatible with contemporary burger market dynamics that favored efficiency and convenience over theatrical food preparation. Number 2. O'Charley's. The Southern-influenced casual dining chain quietly retreated from markets across the region, closing locations with minimal fanfare while attempting to maintain the illusion of stability through periodic rebranding efforts and promotional campaigns. The brand that had once anchored shopping centers and standalone locations throughout the South discovered that gentle decline could be more devastating than dramatic collapse, as customers gradually forgot about restaurants that had simply faded into irrelevance. Rebranding attempts focused on menu modernization and interior design updates that promised to attract younger demographics while retaining the comfort food identity that had originally defined the concept. New logos, updated color schemes, and contemporary furniture arrangements were intended to make locations feel current rather than dated. However, the changes felt superficial to customers who continued to associate the brand with an earlier era of casual dining. Discount promotions became increasingly aggressive as management attempted to drive traffic through value-oriented offers and limited-time deals. Early bird specials, senior citizen discounts, and family meal packages proliferated as the chain struggled to fill dining rooms during traditionally busy periods. The promotional focus created a bargain-hunting customer base that showed little loyalty and generated minimal profit margins. Menu engineering efforts attempted to balance traditional Southern comfort foods with contemporary options that might appeal to health-conscious diners and younger families. Additions included salads, grilled preparations, and lighter fare that competed for kitchen space and staff attention without generating the revenue density of traditional offerings. The expanded menus created operational complexity without successfully differentiating the concept from competitors. Service consistency became problematic as locations operated with reduced staffing levels that affected every aspect of the dining experience. Wait times increased during busy periods, while order accuracy declined as overwhelmed servers attempted to manage larger table assignments. The warm Southern hospitality that had originally attracted customers became difficult to maintain, with skeleton crews managing full dining rooms. Regional market penetration that had once provided competitive advantages became a liability as demographic shifts and changing dining preferences affected multiple locations simultaneously. The concentration in Southern markets meant that broader cultural and economic trends impacted numerous restaurants at once, rather than being balanced by geographic diversity. Corporate communication became minimal as closure announcements happened quietly without advance notice to customers or communities. Loyal diners discovered their preferred locations had closed permanently, only when they arrived to find darkened buildings and locked doors. The stealth closures eliminated opportunities for farewell celebrations or final visits that might have provided emotional closure for longtime customers. The brand's retreat demonstrated how quiet decline could be more complete than dramatic failure, as customers simply moved on to other dining options without mourning the loss of restaurants that had gradually become irrelevant to their lives. Number 1. Red Lobster. The seafood institution that had defined special occasion dining for generations of American families became the ultimate cautionary tale about how financial engineering and operational chaos can destroy even the most established restaurant brands. Despite decades of customer loyalty and widespread brand recognition, the chain's bankruptcy proceedings revealed the devastating consequences of corporate decisions that prioritized short-term financial gains over sustainable business operations. The endless shrimp promotions that had been designed as traffic drivers became financial disasters that highlighted fundamental misunderstandings of food costs and customer behavior patterns. Corporate executives had apparently failed to anticipate that promotional pricing on expensive seafood items would attract customers focused primarily on consumption volume rather than overall dining experience quality. The promotions generated massive losses while training customers to expect unrealistic value propositions that could never be sustained profitably. Debt obligations accumulated to unsustainable levels as previous ownership groups had loaded the company with financial burdens that operational improvements could not overcome. Interest payments and lease obligations consumed revenue that should have supported facility maintenance, staff training, and ingredient quality standards. The financial pressures created operational compromises that affected every aspect of the customer experience, from food preparation to service delivery. Supply chain disruptions became routine as vendor relationships deteriorated due to payment delays and contract disputes. Seafood suppliers demanded cash on delivery terms that created inventory management challenges, while other vendors reduced product quality to accommodate the chain's cost constraints. The compromised ingredients fundamentally altered the taste profiles of signature dishes while creating consistency problems across locations. Bankruptcy proceedings created operational chaos as vendors, landlords, and employees all faced uncertainty about compensation and contract obligations. Mass closures happened without advance notice as lease obligations became immediately unmanageable under bankruptcy protection. Customers arrived at familiar locations to find empty buildings and posted notices explaining the abrupt shutdowns. The brand identity that had once represented accessible luxury became associated with financial instability and declining quality standards. Media coverage of the bankruptcy highlighted years of operational problems that had been developing behind the scenes, while corporate communications had maintained optimistic projections about future performance. Franchise operators who had invested their life savings in Red Lobster locations faced complete financial ruin as their restaurants became worthless overnight. Equipment, inventory, and goodwill that had represented substantial investments became liabilities as closure costs exceeded any potential recovery value. The collapse eliminated thousands of jobs across multiple markets while destroying retirement savings and investment portfolios for employees who had accumulated company stock through benefit programs. Communities lost gathering places that had hosted decades of celebrations and family traditions. Employee pension obligations and benefit promises became uncertain as bankruptcy courts prioritized secured creditors over worker benefits. Long-term employees who had devoted careers to the company faced retirement insecurity as benefit programs became subject to legal proceedings rather than guaranteed corporate obligations. The Red Lobster bankruptcy became a symbol of how financial manipulation and operational neglect can destroy brands that had seemed too established to fail, demonstrating that no amount of customer loyalty or brand recognition can survive systematic corporate mismanagement and unsustainable debt structures. The stories of these 9 forgotten restaurant chains reveal a harsh truth about the modern dining landscape. Good intentions and corporate investment cannot overcome fundamental disconnects between brand identity and market reality. Each establishment followed remarkably similar trajectories, beginning with optimistic revival announcements and ending with quiet closures that left empty buildings scattered across suburban America like archaeological remnants of a different era. What makes these failures particularly striking is their consistency across different market segments and geographic regions. Whether serving burgers, seafood, or comfort food, whether targeting families or young adults, each brand discovered that superficial changes cannot address deeper operational problems or shifting consumer expectations. The restaurant industry has evolved beyond recognition, demanding efficiency, authenticity, and value propositions that these concepts simply could not deliver despite repeated attempts at reinvention. The empty parking lots and darkened dining rooms that mark their final chapters serve as reminders that even the most beloved restaurant concepts are not immune to the relentless forces of market evolution. In an industry where customer loyalty must be earned every single day, yesterday's success stories can become tomorrow's cautionary tales with devastating speed and finality.